It's the top of the hour. This is Weather Center Live. I'm meteorologist Chris Warren.
And I'm meteorologist Liana Brackett. Dangerous wildfires across Southern California this hour, with new ones popping up overnight. We'll update you on containment efforts throughout this hour and take a look at how the weather is impacting the firefight. To the latest, to the current conditions with those fires, we're looking at Southern California, just in Los Angeles counties. We're looking at multiple fires that are still active as we speak. We have the Oak, Little Mountain, Wilson Creek, Rye, Thomas, and Skirball, and some of these have been deadly at times. So we're looking at the air quality. Those flames are just continuing to push a lot of smoke into the valley. Downtown Newport Beach, as well as San Bernardino, you are considered moderate as far as the air quality, but Anaheim, Thousand Oaks, and Lake Elsinore, you are considered good. Now those winds are really pushing, and you can kind of see that with the wind barbs. We're going to take a closer look at the winds in just a moment, but first take a look at the relative humidity. When you see these single-digit percentages, that's really bad news. I mean, we're looking at 7% for Santa Clarita, Los Angeles, 5% for Santa Ana. And talking about those winds, though, I mean, look how strong they've been. Earlier, we just had some gusts up to 60 miles per hour. Granted, they are in the canyons and along the ridges, but still, we're looking at Fallbrook at 32 miles per hour winds, Riverside gusting up to 28 miles per hour, Los Angeles right now 3 miles per hour, as well as Santa Barbara, but just a little bit farther inland. You see these little pockets of red. Those are the stronger wind gusts. That's closer to about 35 to almost 50 miles per hour. So that's the current look right now. And we do have the red flag warnings that are spreading across Southern California, hugging the coastline, unfortunately, and even out into the inland valley parts, the desert southwest, as well as seeing that threat. Now, the biggest of those blazes, the Thomas fire, and it has spread into another county. Our own Justin Michael spent the morning on the fire front, and he updates us on the threat in Santa Barbara County, California. Makes sense, you know. It does. It does. You know,
Liana, you come out and do this. You come out and do this,
hey,
Liana.
no, I was just wondering. I was wondering what the glasses were for, because I was like, there's no sun. So it was just something that I was thinking about. I'm like, you know,
if you go snowboarding or skiing and you don't have goggles on and it's snowing, it comes down.
It's true. It's true. But I was like, I always thought that they were meant for the sun glare, not really like the effects of like the snow flying terrain across Southern California. There are a lot of mountains, and so a lot of that wind is just pushing through these canyons, and they can kind of become a little localized funnel effect for these flames. So looking at the big picture here, we have several active fires across Southern California. We're looking at LA County as well as Santa Barbara County, and as well as the IE. We're looking at Little Mountain, Oak, Wilson Creek, as well as the Thomas and Skirball and Rye fires that are all burning at this time. Taking a look at the visible satellite imagery, we do have the wildfire smoke that's pushing towards the south and towards the west. As it's just south of Santa Barbara that you see right there, that's the smoke associated with those fires. And all that smoke is really bringing down the air quality for several spots. Downtown LA, Newport Beach, you are in the moderate levels as far as the air quality, as well as San Bernardino in the Inland Empire. Thousand Oaks, Anaheim, you do have some clearing as far as the good qualities for the air quality, but also Lake Elsinore. But the farther south you go, we still have the threat for the potential for fires to develop. We already have the Lilac fire that's just popped up across Fallbrook. Now, relative humidity remains very, very low. This is dangerous when you're seeing these single digits, and something that you can do, just make sure that if you're planning on throwing out a cigarette, think twice, because that could easily spark a flame and a fire. So we're looking at the winds really gusting, continuing in Riverside, gusting up to 30 miles per hour, as well as in Santa Ana, gusting up to 22 miles per hour. All right, thanks so much, Chris. And yeah, I mean, it's the time for your winter update. We're looking at a general pattern for half of the country, seeing some pretty chilly temperatures.
Yeah, so it's a really highly amplified pattern with a huge ridge in the west. That's not going to change dramatically. We think it could change some in the longer term. And then this big plunge of cold in the east. So a little bit of wintry weather for the southeast tomorrow morning. And then we'll put this forward into the weekend. Take a look at this area here where you see where the differential advection is occurring, where you've got warm and humid air coming up into the system, and at the same time you've got cold air dropping down. So that's a recipe for a storm. We're going to see some snow in the northeast and mid-Atlantic region come Sunday, and then another wave of cold comes down, and once again we see that pattern in the northeast Tuesday and going into Wednesday. Then after that we start to see some moderation. Notice that it does get warmer in the southern plains and the southeast, still chilly in northeast Midwest, and we are starting to see the ridge break down a little bit on the west coast. So that's going to mean some weather coming into the northwest, Seattle and Portland, but not really in California, which is where you'd like to see it.
Exactly. I mean, this is not really what you want to see. I mean, granted, this is all the way out, you know, to December 16th, but hopefully this is just one model's perspective on what's going to happen, and hopefully we can see this change. But for the most part, I mean, it's not really making any changes for the Southwest, at least.
No, I mean, you know, this is slightly better than what we were looking at, you know, the last couple of days, where there was this enormous ridge that didn't want to budge across the west, but it's still not as good as we'd like to see, because this is the time of year when you expect to really get into that rain and snow. Now, more specifically, looking at the storms over the next couple of days, this is Friday, and in the afternoon we see the snow here across parts of North Carolina and Virginia. Then a low pressure develops in this latest run of the European model and actually steps up the snowfall rates in those areas going into Saturday morning, some of that coming up into D.C., and then the low continues to get stronger as it moves up into the northeast going into late Saturday. So it's not going to be a blockbuster storm, but it will be enough to produce some fairly heavy snow in some areas. There's our snowfall forecast, and we're talking about a few to several inches across parts of eastern New England in particular.
All right. Thanks so much, Carl. We're going to send it back into the studio.